The absolute brutality that is realizing that you weren't recording, even though you've been talking for like 10 minutes. That's all right. What's up, friends? I have bronchitis. I just got over COVID. Now I have bronchitis, so I'm just getting pretty fucked up right now. But that's all right. We're here. We're making the best of it. There's still work to do. And there's things for me to share with you. So this video that I'm making today, the reason why I'm making it is because in recent weeks and months, I have adopted a lot of new practices in some of my mixing and mastering sort of skills. And at first I was a little reserved because some of these things I might have suggested, I'm sorry, a couple of months ago, I might have completely written off and never suggested. But now that I've tried them and, been experimenting with them myself, I got to play a lot of these tracks that I've used these practices on live for the first time a couple days ago, and they sounded absolutely fucking immaculate. It was ridiculous. They were the best sounding tracks in my set, period. Not just out of my tracks. It made my other tracks sound like dog shit. So I'm more than prepared to share it with you guys. And, I think that these practices have credibility now. So that being said, let's jump into it. The very first thing that I wanted to talk about is sub-pushing. Sub-distorting, sub-clipping. I'm not exactly sure in which... some people refer to it differently. I call it sub-pushing. Now, I've made a video on this in regards to sound design in the past, and if you haven't seen that yet, it's on the Patreon. Stop what you're doing right now. Go watch that first. The reason being is because the same principle applies here. It's just a little bit of a different practice. So if you understand what's going on with that, you'll understand what's going on here. If you don't understand, then you might not fully get what we're about to talk about here. So anyways, what I do is, in my drop group, of course, I have my drums and my sounds. This is nothing new. I used to have a non-sub and a subgroup, as I'm sure you've seen if you've explored any of my projects or just watched any of my videos. Use the same template all the time. Well, lately, I've been not doing that. I've been bringing the sub up into a second group called the distortion group, okay? And what I'm doing in the distortion group is I am pressing the sub off of all of the other sounds, okay? And that creates a very raw sounding distortion on those sounds. And it sounds very crisp and very clean. The first one that I did this on was my unreleased Lil Nas X remix, which I'm going to be giving you guys before the end of the month. The project, that is. If you want the file, I guess you can fucking have it too, but the project I think is more beneficial for learning. Anyways, and it just sounded absolutely insane, so I'm like, all right, I got to try, experimenting with this more. Fast forward, I've made about 6 or so tracks using that technique, and they all sound fucking ridiculous, so yeah, it's a good practice. But, like I said, we're pushing the sub in this group together in order to, really get that hardcore distortion sound. So let me play it for you so you hear what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. Now let me play this without the sub so you can really, really hear what's going on. I'll turn off the clip shifter too. Turn the sub back on. So what the sub is doing is the sub is pushing against all these into the clip shifter. So it's clipping like a motherfucker, and that clipping is producing that raw distortion sound. So you can hear a little bit more dramatically what this sounds like. I'm going to turn the sub up even more, push the sub even harder, so you can really, really hear the effect that this has. I have it at a good point right here where, it's got a decent amount of distortion, but not too much. I want you to hear what it actually sounds like with, a lot more. Oops. Right, so you can really hear what it sounds like. You can hear the effect. Like I said, I have it at a place where I'm happy with it. It's just enough distorted for me. But yeah, that's it. That's the process right there. So what do I have on each of these, each of these channels? that are making up this group. Well, on the sub, I just have standard sub processing. My maximal sub 808, either 808 or extra clean, they both work pretty well. The sub power rack, always using that. So it's just very standard, typical sub processing. The key here is the volume of the sub. Adjusting that with the utility and the volume slider, whatever, is how you're going to get it to press against these sounds in here and get that distortion effect. So what's in these sounds? Well, or what's on this group in these sounds? A couple things. First of all, I've been doing bus OTT lately. I would have written that off immensely several months ago. But here I have this entire group. This is like the chords and bass, as you could see right over here. I have a OTT at 40% on right here. It's 40% OTT. That sounds fantastic. It glues all the sounds together. It does a really, really good job. And yeah, I would have said that was absolutely shitty shit to do. Not that long ago. But I like the way it squeezes everything together. So, we move forward. We adjust our mentality. After the OTT, I have a high pass filter on this, EQ8. I have my hard cut at like 150 and then a little notch here at 200 to just take down some of those, those lower mids. And that will, again, provide for a nice clean push from the sub. If the sub was whacking off of any low frequencies in this group, it wouldn't be able to produce that nice clean distortion sound. Now this guy right here, so I've also been doing image pushing. We'll talk more about that very shortly. But image pushing is essentially just using an imager. No stereoization here. We're widening the stereoization that already exists. But you see each band here, I'm just pushing up a little bit, 20%, 25%, 30%. I've noticed in recent times that a lot of artists are, increasingly widening their tracks. Even in like pop music and shit like that, they're becoming wider and wider and wider. Still mono compatible, but just like, what's going on the sides is a lot wider, a lot more colorful. So, got to adapt to that. So I'm pushing all these sounds just a little bit harder with this imager, and it sounds really, really good. Going next, I have a Gullfoss just to, clean up some of these, harsh frequencies and stuff a little bit. Just my very typical Gullfoss settings, nothing crazy there. And then lastly, it's just a cutout for the lead. Our lead is up here, talking about that in a moment, but this provides a little bit of room so that the lead doesn't flash off of it. All right, now on the distortion group, it's very simple. Clip shifter, boom. So that's, the sub and this group right here, the chords and bass group, are both slamming into the clip shifter. The intensity of the sub determines the distortion amount. So that's that. I don't have anything else on clip shifter. No input gain, nothing. It's literally just there, period. Okay. And then after that, I have Soothe 2, because if we're going to clip it to shit, we got to clean up our mess a little bit. So Soothe 2 just helps take some of those harsh frequencies and reduce them so it sounds good even after clipping the fucking hell out of it. Now, what sounds... Please don't fuck with my keyboard, Peach. You're okay. My cat is here in front of me. What sounds go in this group? What sounds can we keep in this distortion group? Well, that's discretionary. I've, on my Lil Nas X remix, every single synth in the drop was in the distortion group. So it was all, pressing off of the sub and having this effect be created. In this track, I wanted the lead to sound very nice and clean, but all these background sounds like the basses, you can see exactly what's in here. A couple basses here, 5 basses, 2 sets of chords, and then just like a white noise type thing. I wanted those to be distorted, but I want the lead to stay nice and clean. So what I did was I just didn't include the lead in this group. The lead is up above here. So it is not being affected by the sub, and it's not being pushed. On this lead group again, so like I said, I've been doing OTT group processing. Here it is again. You could just see I've been doing like 40%-ish OTT on a lot of these like little subgroups here. So like if it's the lead group, I'll throw a 40% OTT. If it's like the chord group, I'll throw a 40% OTT. If it's like a womp womp bass group, I'll put an OTT on it. I've just been doing that lately, and it sounds good. Like I said, I would have written that shit off. Not anymore. I'm happy with it. All right, so that's the first thing. How long did that take to talk about? 10 minutes. That's perfect. We're fine. Oh, the other nice thing that I was going to say about this process, right? So we get that harsh distortion sound in our synths by doing this sub pushing. But what's nice is that, for example, any elements that are outside of this group, such as the lead group, such as the drums, are not being distorted. They're staying nice and clean. That's fantastic because, like I've coached about before, the drums determine the way that your mix down is perceived. If you have dirty, shitty drums, your mix down is going to be perceived to, sound like shit. If your drums are nice and clean sounding, then it's going to give the perception of your mix down just being fucking fantastic. So let me play this for you guys so you can really, really hear what's going on. So you can really, really hear, the distortion elements down in there. And you can hear that the lead isn't being distorted. You can hear, what's clean, what's not. The drums are all super fucking clean, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's that process. It works really, really fucking good. All right, what else? So I talked about the OTT. I talked about the sub pushing, image pushing. Now, in regards to image pushing, because I did it so heavily on this group, I don't really feel the need to do it on the master. But a couple times I have also done it here on the master, right here at output. I would just throw an imager before the clip shifter and, push it a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. I think this track is already wide enough as is, so it doesn't need it. But I've done that on the master as well, so image pushing can go there too. Let's talk about this, though. Let's talk about Basic Master Chain 2.0. I'm going to release an updated version of it, Basic Master Chain 2.1. The reason being is because I've added a little tidbit here on at the end. So everything here is standard except for up to here. So sub pushing in this group, that worked really, really well. Well, what if we did it a little bit more at the very, very end of the track, okay? So everything is being fed into this clip shifter. So the entire mix is being fed into this clip shifter all the way up to here. One of the things I was finding is that I wasn't able to get my sub sounding the way that I wanted it to, my low frequencies pushing as hard as I think they could. So all that I did, I took an MBC right here, which is essentially just cutting up, the high, mid, and low into 3 separate bands. Turned up the low band by 2 decibels and then fed it into another G clip. So essentially you have your final product right here, and then you are just distorting the low frequencies. You're pushing the low frequencies a little tiny bit harder into another clipper. It would be the exact same process as if I did something like this. Let me say, so we'll take Ray Volpe's Elastic, right? I'll do that same process so you could hear exactly like what we're looking at. So here's MBC. So this is a finished track, right? Finished, done. Take an MBC. We'll take a what's it called, G clip. All right, now let's listen. I'm gonna start pushing these low frequencies, and you can hear what happens. Oh, also let me you can see what's going on in the sub here. All right. So you can see the sub level as, you guys know what to do. So you're really, really turning up that sub level, and the track still sounds good. You're getting a little bit of that clipping, again, because of like the sub push theory. But it sounds good and clean as fuck. So that's been helping me get a little bit more sub out of my mix at the very, very end of the chain. And it's fucking fantastic. So other things I've still been shooting for, anything that's over -4 on the LUFS. I used to be so fucking butthurt about that had to be at like -2. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'd rather have my shit sound clean. It goes nuts at the club, so I don't really care if it's the loudest thing you've ever heard. Like, let's look at this one. So yeah, it's averaging in some of the higher threes, so I might even pull the clip shifter down a little tiny bit there. But the sub level's good. Check the sub level. And again, that's because of that MBC pushing that low end right there. Check a look. Things just sound better when there's more sub there. So by, adding a little bit more sub here at the end, the whole track sounds better. So that's that. What's the other thing that I wanted to talk about? That really might be it, to be honest with you. So I'm going to be updating the basic master chain to have this at the very end if you guys want to fuck with that. I think it's good practice. Still a little bit more advanced, but should be fine. Drums, maybe? I've been doing, on my snares, I've been using the solid bus comp from Native Instruments. I think it's cheap. I think it's really, really cheap, but it works so well. So well. Listen to this. That's off. Here's on. Off. On. It's so goddamn good. It's insane. But, okay, what else? Am I missing something? Kick, snare. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's about it. That's pretty much everything that I've been doing that's like any bit different. So, yeah, if I think of anything else, I'll make a follow-up video, but I'm pretty sure this is it. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions on any of these processes, just let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about it further or, message you about it one-on-one and we could discuss. But yeah, this is where I'm at. I just wanted to share because these have absolutely elevated my production game over the last couple of months. So hopefully it'll do the same to yours. But all right, guys. Again, hit me with questions, but best of luck working on some new tracks using these techniques. All right, coach out. See you later.